Sports Orbit. We make the world go round.
Hello and welcome to yet another edition of Sports Orbit right here under the leadership of Podcast Studio. My name is Olawale Ayeni and I'll be your host for today. I have in the studio with me Alpha. Together we'll be talking sports this evening. Alpha, how are you doing?
Good. Pleasure to be here once again.
Of course, Tobi Amusan is she is currently the name of Tobi Amusan is in the lips of every Nigerian at this point in time after she emerged winner at the ongoing Diamond League right there in Switzerland. She actually broke the African record in the women's hurdles event. That's talking about 110 hurdles event right there in Switzerland yesterday. She actually broke. Broke that record with a 12.42 seconds, a record which was actually set by another Nigerian about 10 years ago and thereabout with 12.44 seconds. At this point in time, she has broken that record and she has set new African record in the Diamond League. We saw her in the Olympics. She couldn't get to win medal in the Olympics, but at this point in time, can we say she has actually redeemed herself in the Diamond League?
I think she has. When I got this news early in the early hours of today, I was particularly happy for her. I think it's some serve as some sort of consolation for her failure in trying to clinch a medal at the Olympics. Going into the Tokyo Olympics, she was one of bright medal hopefuls, but unfortunately, she couldn't make the podium. So I was really happy that she was able to not just win a medal at the Diamond League, but also set a new record. So nice one from Tobi Amusan. She's still 24. So I hope that this will even spur her on. The Commonwealth is by the corner. So hopefully by the Commonwealth Games, she will do better and hope to carry that performance all the way to the 2020 Olympics in France, 2024 Olympics in Paris. So nice one for her. So she's been doing well since she came onto the scene. And, the way it's looking from when it comes to hurdles, she has really shown that she's the name, the name to beat when it comes to hurdles, especially in Africa. So she has set a new record, and I hope that she sustains the momentum moving forward.
Because if you look at Tobi Amusan record, she actually broke. She actually broke Gloria Alonso's record of Monaco 90 and 98. That she actually ran 12.44 seconds in that one, and this time she has broken that record in between the space of 3 years. Tobi Amusan actually broken the record set by Gloria Alonso. She actually broke the record in Rabat, and also at this point in time, she has actually broken the record right there in Switzerland. But at this point, we know that when it comes to Diamond League, when it comes to World Championship, athletes get to do that. But when it matters most, talking about the biggest stage in the world when it comes to athletics competition, is the Olympics. If you want to actually look at it that very well, but can we say it's just the Nigerian factor that's actually holding back this athlete from them fulfilling their potential?
I may want to agree with you because looking at it, the kind of athletes who compete in the Diamond League are not really different from the kind of athletes. These are very elite athletes who also compete in the Olympics. But for the Diamond League, for instance, you see that a lot of times the IOC or the AFN is not really involved in these kind of things. These people from their training come from their bases. They get prepared, do their preparations, and go to this Diamond League. And you see that they do very well. But when it comes to competition time,
a whole lot of distractions.
Exactly, they come back to Nigeria. From the camping period, you start hearing all kinds of stories, all kinds of distraction things, different kind of things happen. They go to the country where they're supposed to participate, all kinds of distractions here and there. And at the end of the day, they don't put up, the kind of results that we expect them to put up. And after these competitions, they go back and we hear them, all over again, start doing wonderful things. So I really think that Nigerian sports federations really need to put their house in order because these athletes can't continue going for this kind of tournament, doing well. Then when it comes to where it matters most. For like Olympics, where you know that okay, apart from the athletes, having an opportunity to write their name in gold, the country's name is also at stake, because at the end of the day, when these athletes win at the Olympics, they first of all mention your country first. Tobi Amusan of Nigeria, and you get to.
But this diamond in that is the name before.
Yeah, basically, at the Olympics, you get to, when you make the podium, especially when you win the gold, your national anthem gets to be played, and all of those things. But in the Diamond League, I mean, it's more of a personal achievement. In this case now, the benefit will be to her coaching crew, and the rest of them, and not necessarily to Nigeria as a whole. So I really think sports federations in Nigeria really need to put their house in order, give these athletes the right environment to actually excel when they go for these global tournaments.
I don't know at this point in time if my producer have that particular videos that he can actually get to play it. Okay, at this point in time, I'm finding it difficult to connect to that video at this point. But let's still talk about the Diamond League trophy won by the African nations. 10 of them are won, 83 overall, 2 from West Africa, and the other one by Tobi in 2021. Amusan become the first hurdler from Africa to win the Diamond League trophy. 352 trophies have won by 44 nations since 2010. Nigeria is joined 40th in the world to have actually won a medal in the Diamond League. Okay, my producer, I think my producer have the video at this point in time. Getting to win other race with getting to set a new record and also a personal best for her.
Yeah, I mean, incredible performance out there coming from Tobi Amusan. This is what we were expecting from her during the Olympics. But that notwithstanding, she's been able to, redeem her image. This, like I said earlier, this should be a consolation for her for not winning, the Olympics. But I really hope that the AFN, the Ministry of Sports, are watching this and taking note. They should realize that these athletes are elite athletes, so they should do everything within their power to ensure that we do not, go through some of the shambolic things we saw, in Tokyo. Moving forward, people like Tobi Amusan needs to be given all the encouragement she deserves moving forward, because for her to perform perform at this level at that kind of sort of competition, it simply
just
means
about a few weeks after the Olympics.
So like I said earlier, it depends on her trainer, her camp, the club that she represents, and all of that. I'm sure the necessary things were put in place for her to thrive. But when we go for competition, it's a different ballgame. But I really hope that this will serve as a lesson to the authorities, if they're actually listening, and do everything in their power to ensure that these kind of athletes get to perform at their peak next time around.
Of course, the AFM must have to even the sports ministry must ensure that they get to do the right thing to ensure that we get a proper representation when we go for international tournament, most especially the Commonwealth Games will be coming, next year, and we are hoping that we get to put athletes, put them in good shape, and ensure that they get to win laurels for Nigeria going forward. So, away from athletics, we head straight to the slamming and dunking game, where the Nigerian Basketball Premier League, as continue is beginning, to gather momentum at this point in time, where, of course. Okay, my producer is telling me that we should go for the cricket story where our team Nigeria begin chase for World Cup spot in Botswana at this point in time. Our team actually the female team, our national team in Botswana for a place in the ICC Women T20 World Cup in Botswana. And they are actually in group in Namibia against Cameroon, against Uganda, Sierra Leone in Group B of the ICC African Qualifying Series, and they will tackle the Sierra Leoneans in the opening rounds of that particular tournament. And just to let you know that the overall winners of that particular tournament will pick this whole ticket for the Women's World Cup. Do you see Nigeria picking this ticket and qualifying to the World Cup? Because we saw that when it comes to cricket, we're beginning, to get it right. We saw our under 17, getting to qualify and actually made history in the last World Cup, but they couldn't actually, move to the, knockout stages. But at least we saw them, doing the magic. Do you think the women team are also in the road to actually achieve the same feat that the under 17 did?
Difficult to say really, but whatever happens, cricket is really catching on in Nigeria. Not as popular as some of the other sports, but over the last few years, a lot of progress has been made in development and awareness of cricket in the country. And our teams in cricket haven't really done too badly, I must confess. So I really hope that they should be able to click it together. Of course, when it comes to cricket, of course, the countries in the southern hemisphere, talking about South Africa, Zimbabwe, Botswana, they are the teams to beat usually. So Namibia and all of those teams, yeah, exactly. So I really hope that if they are able to clinch a ticket, well, fine. But their first game comes up later on tonight. So when by the time they play that game, we'll see what happens from there. Depending on how they perform, we'll have a better view of how to really analyze them and see how they're going to perform moving forward. But if they eventually pick up a World Cup ticket, that would be nice. But I really hope they should be able to deliver.
Alpha is hoping that they should be able to deliver. Just to let you know, Nigeria will play in Namibia and Uganda on Friday and Saturday before taking the rest on Sunday, and then resume on Monday to tackle Cameroon in their final group game. But for now, we'll go for a short break. When we'll come back, basketball into the news. Kenneth Raw also, he has been charged to extend an invitation to a certain player. This is coming from an ex-international. These and many more. We'll be looking at the hat-trick scored by Messi and also the Premier League return. So many football fans are happy for the return of the leagues, matches across the world. These and many more will come after the short break. Welcome from that short break. It's still sports upbeat right here on the Leadership Podcast studio. We head straight to the slamming and dunking game where Rivers Hoppers blow out New Boys, Coal City Miners in the Nigerian Premier Basketball League. They actually defeated the Coal City Boys 90 to 39. This is the biggest win in the Nigerian Basketball League so far. This is not just good for the New Boys getting to be beaten black, white, and blue by a certain team that went to play in the continent last season.
Yeah, when I saw this result, I wasn't surprised. If you've been following basketball, everybody who's been following basketball in Nigeria knows that Rivers Hoopers are really, really a very decent side. So, I mean, like you said, they actually represented Nigeria at the at the African Basketball League. You know, and they didn't do too badly, yes, even though they really didn't go to the latter stages of the competition, but their performance wasn't, but they still had a decent run. So for the coal miners, I wasn't surprised because this is their first time out. They just got into the Premier League, you know. So of course, when you come from the lower leagues to, you know, the big leagues like this, you always get this.
And getting to play in certain rivers.
You know, one of the best basketball teams in the country right now. You know, so it's always expected that you get this kind of baptism, this kind of sort of welcome to the big league.
Welcome party.
Yes, exactly. So it was a complete whitewash. I mean, the margin was just too much. You know, so
51.
yeah. So now the coal miners will really sit up and know that okay, this is where the league. This is not this is this league for men. You know, not from where they are coming from. So it will really give them an eye opener of what to expect. You know, and moving forward, if they are able to sustain and not be relegated, they'll know that okay, moving forward, they need to recruit some of the best players. You know, to be able to at least compete with the big boys in the league. So nice one for Rivers Super. So I really hope that they move a step forward, and for coal miners, well, better luck out next time. And well, this is how it is when you come to the elite division. So it's just for them to sit up and improve on their displays.
I know it's too early to call at this point in time. Which team do you see getting not to win the Nigerian Basketball Premier League? Because I know it's too early to call, but
usually traditionally. Rivers, Hoopers, Pillars,
because
Islanders.
I watch Pillars game.
Yeah,
they actually
Pillars has always been a fantastic, one of the best basketball sides also in Nigeria. Same for Lagos Islanders. Lagos Islanders, Pillars, Rivers, Hoopers, Gombe Bulls. You know, so these are the top 4 teams who have always really been up there when it comes to basketball. So I expect the winner to emerge from one of these 4 sides. I really, if the winner does not emerge from this 4 side, to me it would be really an upset. But I really think that the winner of the basketball league will emerge from one of these 4 sides.
Of course, just to let you know that the basketball league is actually divided into 2 conferences. Talking about the Atlantic, the Savannah Conference. The Atlantic Conference is actually going on right there in Akure, while the Savannah Conference is actually going on in the Mochida Biola National Stadium right there in Abuja. Away from the slamming and doctor game, we head straight to football, where Raw must extend more invitation to NGK at this point in time. This is coming from the Nigerian former goalkeeper, talking about Joseph Dawson. He has urged Raw to actually extend invitation to Chidera. NGK. We know that he played for CSK Moscow, and he actually played against between Cape Verde, and we saw him doing some magic for the team. He actually helped the team to match victories, match winners over Cape Verde on Tuesday, where the Super Eagles actually defeated Cape Verde at 2-1. Do you think he should be invited often? Can he displace the likes of Iwobi, the likes of Arrigo? In the likes of some Carlo, even in the wings, if you want to bring the wings or in the midfield, can they actually misplace these players?
Sometimes you really don't know
what. He should wait for his time.
When is his time? This is his time. I mean, a lot of times in teams like this, you don't really know what a player can do if you don't give them a chance. And I totally agree with Dosu. Give a lot of these players a chance. Not always sticking to the names that we've always known. When you bring boys like this into the team, you provide some sort of competition, and it makes other players to sit up. Because by the time some players get too comfortable in a certain position,
they don't get to deliver.
Exactly, so it's like you've made that position your own. So by the time you bring boys like this, I'm sure even the likes of Yowobi and the rest of them actually watched the Kiveri game, saw what he could do on the pitch, and that will make them to sit up. So extending invitation to this kind of players actually makes players to sit up. Once you know that you have a competition, it makes you putting your best every time you get invited, because you know that the moment you don't perform well, there's always someone out there who is willing to fit into your shoes. Exactly. So I agree with you. So and I think as an advice also to Raw, he has this habit of sticking with some certain particular players. Whenever there's a call up, you are sure that some certain players will make the team.
You're almost sure of his first 11.
Exactly. Especially for things like maybe some friendlies, some kind of matches. Extend invitations to some of these players. Try them out. We have so many talented players playing all over Europe and in other places across the globe. Even in MLS, we have a couple of 1, 2, 3 very good players who are still eager to get a national team call up. So it's important that these kind of players every now and then get a call up. Let them come in, express themselves, show what they can do on the pitch, and at least let's have a full house, and so that provide more competition. And this is what actually makes players even get better when you know that, okay, in this wing you're playing, you're not the only person who can perform in that wing. So it really helps even the growth of the team going forward.
Of course, let me just ask this question before we move forward. Giving invitation to players for them to come and play for the national team, should it be as good as your last performance, or you're trying to build up this team that you have this set of players? Whenever there's a national game, these are the set of players you must actually call for them to be part of the team.
So the thing is, usually in most teams, there's something you call the core of the team. You have the heart of the team. There are some certain players that form, because once you don't have that, it actually destabilizes the balance of the team. So you really have the core of the team, but you also bring in players who might call fringe players, for instance, especially during some of these FIFA free breaks when you're playing friendlies. It's not necessary all the time that you're in friendlies. You bring, but all the time, Raw, even for friendlies, he wants to bring,
he wants to have his voice.
Exactly, but watch out how other countries does for England, Brazil, and the rest of them. Sometimes when you're playing some sort of friendlies, you give trials you test some other players who are trying to find their own footing in the national team. So I expect that, okay, you could say, okay, for something like qualifiers, well, then you could be excusable that, okay, you need to use your best team for players in qualifiers. But especially there are some in the last maybe 2, 3 tournaments where we've qualified and we have like 2 or 3 matches to spare. You could bring in some of these kind of players to come and at least don the shirt of the Eagles,
so that we can actually have
have a reserve, so that going into the tournament proper, you could still pick 1 or 2 of them to as maybe on standby or something like that, to have a feel of tournament moving forward.
Of course, you just have to have that in your team so that you're able to move forward. Living, Nigerian football now at this point in time, we head straight to the news, coming from South America at this point in time, where it's certain Messi has actually broken the Pelé international goal record for South America. We know that was actually holding that record, having scored 77 goals in that one. But Messi was a hat trick against Bulgaria yesterday. Actually ensured that he is the highest goal scorer when it comes to international competition in the whole of South America. Messi now has 79 goals for Barcelona. Good for Argentina at this point in time.
Good one. I mean, good one coming.
But he's still way back. Looking at Ronaldo.
I mean, Ronaldo holds the record for all international. But I mean, this is a good way to start for him. You can imagine this is 2021, and when the Pelé retired, and the record was just broken in 2021 by a certain Lionel Messi. So I think kudos to him. You could imagine that Pelé has held that record. Pelé retired in, I think, after the 78 World Cup. So that's like how many years ago? So it means of all the great players who have come out of Argentina, the Ronaldos, the Lima, the Carlos Tevez, so many of all the players, none of them were able to break that record. But Messi has finally broken the record. And like he said, I mean, he actually was looking forward to the day when he was going to break this record. He knew it was going to be a difficult one, and it took him a while to break it, but finally he's been able to break the record. And kudos to him. He's a man who keeps breaking records and all of that. And it was a fine performance by the Argentine winning Bolivia 3-0. You know, to I think they are now group leaders or second group leaders so far in their group going into the qualifier. So good one for Lionel Messi.
Of course, just to let you know that Messi actually played his 153, game for Argentina, and that 3-0 win over Bolivia yesterday. So talking about news surrounding Messi, but a certain man is coming out to say I did not sign for Barcelona because of Messi. This is actually not coming from Queen Aguero at this point in time, because we know that criticism. Everybody is saying he came to Barcelona because of Messi, but he has come out to debunk. I remember that he signed for Barcelona because of Messi. If he actually signed because of Messi, Messi should not have, exited the club and go and join and go and fly straight there for PSG.
Yeah.
But at this point in time, he said no, I didn't come to Barcelona because of Messi. But he will be missing that partnership.
No, definitely.
That they actually enjoy the national team.
For even Aguero initially, he wasn't even expecting to leave Man City, but I think they didn't sort of come to an agreement concerning renewal of a new deal. Man City definitely had their eyes set on getting the services of Harry Kane, which they eventually failed in that pursuit. So they really weren't keen on tying Aguero down, but he had to leave, and Barca came knocking, and of course he saw the opening, and of course the motivation to reunite with his countryman Messi, whether we like it or not, was some sort of motivation for him going to Barca. But I'm sure he wasn't expecting that while Messi was going to leave Barca. So it might not actually be because of Messi, but of course he served as it was an extra incentive for him signing for Barca.
Wow. We go to Man City, where Man City at this point in time they are considering move for Luka Modric. Talking about Luka Modric, was one-time player that actually won the FIFA World Best, the Ballon d'Or, the European Player of the Year just in one season. And at this point in time, Manchester City are actually considering a move for Luka Modric. Do you think it's a good move for Man City and for Luka Modric, going to that heart of the midfield of Manchester City? Now we had the lives of Kevin De Bruyne, we have the lives of Gandogan that actually not play for Germany. Can he actually not fit in the setup of?
It depends on when clubs go out looking for players like this. I believe, especially for a coach like Guardiola, I think maybe there are some qualities he has seen that he needs. He feels Luka Modric should. And it depends on the ambitions of the club, really. I think maybe there's something he's trying to achieve in that midfield for him to, have his eyes set on Luka Modric. He's also 36 years old also, but that notwithstanding, these days age doesn't really matter too much. I mean, after all, yeah, exactly. The likes of Zlatan they're almost 40, tearing up this area. Ronaldo is still playing at the peak. Messi is playing at his peak. So I think maybe he just wants to have some kind of option, or maybe there's a kind of tactical formation he has in mind for him to have his eyes set on Modric. But if the move happens, why not? It's always good to move on, go for a new challenge. He has spent plenty of years in Madrid, won almost everything winnable at Madrid. So it won't be a bad thing for him to make a return to the Premier League after he left Tottenham over 8, 9, 10 years ago, to give it one more shot and see if he can win 1 or 2 more titles with Man City before he call it quits. Yeah.
Of course, talking about the English Premiership at this point in time, action will return this weekend, and tomorrow we'll be seeing live games. The first game will come up. It will be between Crystal Palace and Everton. As my producer, if you can put it on the
Spurs, actually.
Of course, Crystal Palace and Spurs will actually will be early kickoff at 12:13 Nigerian time. Arsenal will seek redemption when they actually play against a relegation bound and Norwich City. After I'm going to come to that. Brentford against Brighton, Leicester City against Manchester City. That is the star match of the weekend. Manchester United. Hopefully, we should see Cristiano Ronaldo getting into play against Newcastle. Southampton versus West Ham. Watford against Wolves. Chelsea will host Aston Villa. And on Sunday, we are going to see Leeds host Liverpool, while Everton will be seeking 3 points against Burnley. That match will come up on Monday. But quickly before we go, Alpha, looking at the match between Arsenal and Norwich, do you see Arsenal getting all 3 points? Because I've seen it some places that the first 3 matches, Arsenal has not started the season, that they are starting the season against Norwich.
Well, I think if Arsenal does not get all 3 points against Norwich tomorrow, I think it will be really a sad one. Because, I mean, that would
And
be
they're playing at the Emirates.
Playing at the Emirates, playing at home, it will be a huge disappointment to the fans, to even Arteta and his players himself. So I really see no reason why Arsenal should not at least grab all 3 points in that one tomorrow. If they don't, they'll set a new club record of going 4 games without winning. So, but I really expect Arsenal to come away with a victory in that one.
Of course, I expect Arsenal to come up with a victory in that particular game against Norwich City. Then let's quickly talk about the star match of the week, Leicester City against Manchester City. Jamie Vardy will actually see to continue his fine, going score form.
That would be a really tough one. In the Premier League, Leicester City has always given Man City all kinds of problems, and Jamie Vardy, interestingly, out of his 10 appearances against City, he has scored in 8 of them. So he'll be the man to watch, obviously. Sometimes these kind of things always serve as a psychological booster. When you're used to scoring is against a particular side, you expect that you keep scoring. And of course, the opposing side too will be wary of him, knowing that, okay, a certain Jamie Vardy somehow always finds the back of the net every time we confront them. So it's going to be a very tough one out there at the King Power Stadium, and it's something that all football and Premier League fans should look up to. Of
course, it's going to be a mouth-watering clash between Leicester City and Manchester City. But let's quickly, run through from the start. Alpha, let's get your, a prediction. Who should win this particular matches? Crystal Palace against Spurs. Who should win?
Crystal Palace, I go with Spurs. Arsenal, Norwich, I go with Arsenal.
Brentford,
Brighton, I settle for a draw. Leicester, Man City, a draw. United, Newcastle, United. Southampton, West Ham, a West Ham win. Watford, Wolves. I see Wolves winning in that one. Chelsea, Aston Villa, of course, Chelsea. Leeds, Liverpool. I think a draw. Everton, Burnley, I give it to Everton.
Of course, it's going to be action-packed weekend at the various leagues across the world. Also, just to tell you that the African Confederation Cup will actually come up where we see our own Upper United getting to play a match in that particular one. This is where we hit the brakes for Sports Orbit. Today we'll make a return bigger and better on Monday with all the fresh sports stories coming in and out of the world of sport at this point in time. I must thank Alpha for coming on the show today.
Oh, it's a pleasure to be here talking sports.
Of course, you are viewers, you can head straight to our Facebook channel, also our YouTube channel. Let's get your post, let's get your reaction about all the matches that will be going down this weekend. On this note, I want to thank you for staying with us today. We'll make a return on Monday for yet another interesting package of Sports Orbit. But for now, my name is Olawale Ayed. I'm saying bye-bye for now. God bless.